This is Mongolian Mindset, and today we're going to be responding to The Last Father. Usually on Thursdays, we do somebody I like to type instead of what you guys request. But, The Last Father, he comments on a lot of our videos. So we'll be typing his selection today. The Last Father, can you type David Lade? I think he might get a lot of views. Okay, thank you for that. Appreciate it. Appreciate the suggestion. You guys know we're still doing the free typing sessions. We're booked for 2 weeks now, so if you could just I'd hurry to get in that. They're free. One of our goals is to have the most accurate MBTI community. We're on Discord, we're on Facebook, join there. But if you want to be typed, all you have to do is join our Facebook group and message our moderator Cody with your availability, and we will get that done in the future. We're gonna stop doing the free typing sessions because I need to make individual content on the types breakdown, and there's 16 types, so there's gonna be 16 breakdowns. It's gonna take quite a bit. So yeah, do that while you can. And tomorrow we have our mega live where we talk about our groups. Not the group, it's just group and individual goals that we accomplished last month, and the goals that we're gonna accomplish for the following month. It's a really special thing. We're gonna have Leon on there, type tips, big MBTI contributor, and we're gonna have Guitaro on there, 800K subscriber. So yeah, that's gonna be real special, guys. So go ahead and get into that. But let's go look at personality database. And Kevin, I did not forget, every time we make a video, we send a motherfucker to the psychiatry ward. We are the red pill of typology. Okay, so the monkeys at personality database has David Lade as an INTJ. They got INTJ with 29, ENTJ with 6, and ISTP with 4. Okay, I'll look at one comment. A member of the INTJ master race and highly aesthetic, living life on God mode. Clearly an INTJ, however, and definitely outbench this cuck any day of the week, and I have a better physique than him in real life. Okay. Amazing physique. Honestly, I want to be like him. Goals. Too in touch with his FI to be an ENTJ or ISTP. Watch his podcast with Bradley Martin. I couldn't believe it myself to see one like David Lade being an INTJ because of what he does isn't stereotypical in the slightest. So I went and did some research by looking for podcasts and interviews he went on, especially the Bradley Martin. Show him much of an INTJ he is. After the podcast, I immediately figured out how much of an NI-DOM lad is. He narrows things down to come to a conclusion. He also utilizes TE to know exactly where he's going to be. He decided to become an athlete but didn't know how, so he just took the idea by the hands and worked on himself up from there. Okay, so David Lade is the NI-DOM, and his second function is TE, which you can see in most videos. Okay, so we're gonna be looking for some data, statistics, and facts and outside sources. Okay, getting into the metrics here, we got initiating versus responding. Initiating, they feel uncomfortable when there's silence. They're more gregarious. They will change the subject. They don't mind taking control in the conversation. Responding is going to sit back and respond to everything they say. They're not going to change anything up. They're okay with uncomfortable silence. Then you got direct versus informative. Direct is specific, concise, to the point. What is their language? Is it direct, specific, concise, to the point, or is it not? Then you have informative, which is vague, wordy, beats around the bush, takes a passive role, doesn't decide its position in the conversation. And then you got abstract versus concrete. Abstract is the what ifs, the philosophies, the metaphors, things outside the five senses. Concrete is the opposite of that. So what is? Are they boring? Are they dry? Are they talking about the metaphysical or not? Then you got pragmatic versus affiliative. This is basically getting down to like individualistic, or are they about cooperation? That's pretty much what that's about. Systematic, are they implementing system structures to get more control of their life, or are they just playing it by ears meat? Like, are they just changing it up? That's gonna be more interest. Are they looking at people's motives? What people get out of a session? What motivates people? That's those two. And then you got outcome versus progression. Are they looking at the end product? Are they all about the destination, or are they about progression, the journey? Are they talking really fast? Are they slow control? Are they trying to get measured results? Are they trying to do it one time? That's more outcome. Progression is, go with the flow. Flexible goals. They'll move a lot in conversation. They'll talk really fast. So that's another one. Then you got T, FI. TE is all about outside sources. FI is all about what you find important for yourself. TI is all about logical framework that you consistently use. FE is about understanding others, understanding other people's values, basically taking up other people's needs as your own. And then you got SE. It's all about controlling the environment. These type of people are going to be using like totems and whatnot to remember things. NI is all about what will happen. It's all about the path forward. SI is all about the past. Okay, they're gonna be talking about being comfortable and whatnot. Just overall duty, discipline, that type of thing. And then NE is all about the possibilities there. So they got day relators, INTJ. I'm trying to speed this up, guys. INTJs are direct, responding, pragmatic, systematic, progression, TFI, NI, SE, and they're abstract. Okay, so let's get into this. And comment below what you think he is. And it'd be awesome if you guys would subscribe. That helps us grow the group. And we're all about reinvesting in the Mongolian Mindset group and our people. So let's do that.
The most important thing is realizing that fundamentally you're a slave to an egotistical construction with either one. And
Woo! 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 He just cut it on and he's coming off abstract and systematic. Oh no. We just cut it on. Oh no. We just cut it on. What do we start it over?
The most important thing is realizing that fundamentally you're a slave to an egotistical construction with either one. And the goal is to transcend that, even though your egotistical construction that you're feeding is societally rewarded, right? So that's a trap that you could really, really fall into. So the key is you need to go a little lower than that.
We are both fans of Charlie Hooper, and he says that when somebody asks you, what do you do? You have the opportunity to hook lots of different things in. So
looking at this guy, he's giving me the same energy as Jose Zuniga. I don't know what it is, but he's giving me Jose Zuniga energy, and that's ENTP.
If someone was to ask you, why do you do what you do?
I remember Jose was kind of doing the same thing when we typed him in the video. The way he was sitting.
Thread that ties together all of the things that you do. What would you say then?
That's interesting. I feel like there's been like an evolution like throughout that, because just what I do, I guess it's like changed like over time, because like now like broadly speaking, like on the surface, like I make like YouTube like fitness oriented videos, but I think that
look how fast he's talking progression. Come on, stop playing with me. Okay, should we pull up a Zuniga comparison? We'll probably
that started when I was like 13 or 14 years old. Like I got into like weightlifting, and then I took a lot of pictures of my progress, made a transformation.
Talked about progress. That's progression. Took a lot of pictures of my progress.
Video that ended up going viral, and then I just like started making a YouTube channel just with like my friends in the gym, just making random videos like working out. And then I guess I started being more interested in making
and then progression,
cinematic-ish like content, and just making it more like, I don't know, sophisticated, like higher quality, like etc., like more artistic. And yeah, I guess I just enjoy making videos that I just enjoy making.
Do you wish sometimes that your entrance into the world of virality, social media, YouTube hadn't been so tightly defined based on the way that you look, the gym, or do you like integrate that as part of your history perfectly fine?
I'd say so. I mean, I'd say at an earlier point, maybe like years and years and years ago, it was to the point where there was like I guess a slight like toxicity component to it, because the whole reason that I got into working out was because of like very like generic stereotypical insecurities, just being like extremely skinny, feeling all of that. And then as I started getting more and more progress.
This is progression, and he just hit the word progress.
In the gym, and then that obviously gave me like a self-esteem boost. I felt a lot better about myself, and then I would like take pictures.
He is literally talking about himself here. It's SI. This is all first person. SINE. He's not looping it. What is he talking about other people at all? He's not. Okay.
When people take pictures, oftentimes they just want to like maximize it to get it, best lighting, angles, etc. And then I got to a point where maybe like a few years into working out where I had to...
Let me go back on that. Did he say what people want? Let's go back on that. Did I miss that?
Obviously, when people take pictures, oftentimes they just want to like maximize it to get it,
he's talking about what they want. That's NE.
Best lighting, angles, etc. And then I got to a point where maybe like a few years into working out where I had just a decent bit enough of muscle to get pictures that look like semi-decent, right? But not in those pictures, like in real life, like without like a pump or whatever. I remember just like feeling like still like very like just like skinny and insecure. And then it was like a problem because even say like my senior year in high school, I remember I would just wear hoodies just all the time.
I remember that test.
If you're wearing like a big baggy hoodie, you can't like exactly tell like the size of an individual.
Even though at this stage you're probably one of the biggest guys in school.
Yeah, I mean I wasn't like gargantuous or anything of the sort, but I definitely I look like a normal, reasonable human being with like an acceptable amount of like muscle tone, right? But still in my head there was like this crazy just distortion, body dysmorphia, and then eventually the way that transferred over into social media is it was like that thing just amplified even more in terms of just needing to look as good as I possibly could, like in
people
like,
are now
pictures
scrutinizing
and videos.
You for it.
Yeah, so if like I take a picture with someone and then my physique didn't look like as good as like I thought it would, like in my own pictures that I would take or just by myself in like particular curated environments, that would definitely wreak havoc on my well-being, and that was definitely suboptimal.
He's coming off informative. Holy shit.
But as more and more time went by, I feel like that general complex just naturally like dissolved. There's been a bit more peace.
Where are you at now with, because you're still, what, you're 24?
I just turned 25.
Right, okay. So you've been on the internet for longer than I have, despite being 10 years younger than me, right?
He's only 24.
Given the fact that you have
like
had this long career from basically, when did that first video go viral? 17? 18?
What, the age that I was about 17.
Yeah. So, a good chunk of time that you've spent with an awful lot of eyes on you on the internet. All of this has been based around the way that you look. This is coming out the back end of the like aesthetic bro, like Jim's era type thing. How have you managed to dispense with, or how much have you managed to get rid of that body dysmorphia, that sense of your sense of self-worth being attached to the way that you look, your leanness?
See, Chris Williamson is coming off direct, and I know he's a T. He's always referencing somebody else.
Your size.
I think the way that dissolution happened, to whatever degree it has happened, was...
What the fuck is he talking about? See, this is what I be talking about with ENTPs and any DOMs. They have this thing that they call verbal agility, and this is what it is. When they talk, that's why they blow people away, because they have verbal agility.
All of this has been based around the way that you look. This is coming out the back end of the like aesthetic bro, like Jim's era type thing. How have you managed to dispense with, or how much have you managed to get rid of that body dysmorphia, that sense of your sense of self-worth being attached to the way that you look, your leanness, your size?
I think
let's go into it.
Way that dissolution happened, to whatever degree it has happened, was through just so many years on end, or such a prolonged period of time of just feeling such internal like discomfort and dissonance, and just an
verbal agility.
Yeah, just an overall sense of like discomfort in my actual...
This guy's 24, no fucking shit.
Day-to-day life, having to just like micromanage just my own like self-image of how I think I look, yada yada, this is that. And then it just got to the point where that was just so unsatisfying to operate in that way, that the more and more I would distance myself from that, like organically, as a byproduct of like achieving a certain like understanding of how that makes me feel.
The understanding of how that makes me feel. That's an understanding. That's T.I. T.I.'s whole goal is to understand. Okay?
Then I would just notice it would just not feel that way anymore. But even like throughout the years, like at times I would have situations where I could just see my brain re-entering previous thought patterns that I did when I was like fully ensconced in that
thought patterns. That's abstract.
mindset.
Pattern
But back when I was
recognition.
fully ensconced in that mindset, that was literally my like reality as I was like having those thoughts and feelings. But now,
Believe in reality is subjective. That's abstract again.
previous thought pattern still exists, but it exists within a broader understanding, so that when it arises, I
Broader,
can just recognize.
the abstract believes in a broader understanding. That's NE. It's not talking about shrinking down. It's talking about broader. That's the NE.
Its arisal, and then it'll just go away.
And then progression. Let's go ahead and knock him off of progression. Okay, he's progression, guys. Let's go ahead and knock him off for progression. He's Mr. Progression. He's on a journey. Okay, so he's progression. So that either makes him a get things going / starter, or that makes him a finisher or chart the course. The get things going is the ESFJ, ESFP, ENTP, ENFP. Okay, and then the finishers or the chart the course is ISTJ, ISTP, INTJ, and INFJ. Okay, he's coming off abstract, so we're gonna be ready to knock a lot of people off very soon. This should be wrapped up pretty soon. This guy's actually pretty interesting. Unlike Steph Curry.
Just like, I don't know, at peace, or I like feel fine, like there's like no like issues really. So I don't know, I didn't like necessarily implement like just like a strategic like plan or like take any like steps or like create, I don't know, like a mental hygienic discipline to do that. It just sort of just organically just happened after just like contemplation and stuff.
Just by thinking about it, I became systematic. Okay, yes, because ENTPs don't think they're systematic. They really don't. And the reason why is because I like to classify them short-term systematic, which means they can be systematic for a very short term, and then they go back to trying something differently. But it's usually a systematic approach. But it's not going to be like long-term systematic like somebody like myself.
Talk to me about the introspection and the self-work that you've done over the
And
last
the
few
reason why I say that is my older brother's an ENTP, and we can compare and contrast each other. I've been studying him my entire life. My brother's an absolute phenomenon. I'll have him eventually get in the group. It's a fucking bitch to get an ENTP to do anything because they always make you feel like you are a hindrance or annoying or whatnot. But they do love talking to people.
years? Because just to interject there, man, like you're a young guy, right? You're 25.
Mm-hmm.
I was like an adult infant at 25, and the way that you're talking about letting go, releasing difficult challenges that come up, is very mature, especially for somebody that's had broadly the internet world at their feet for quite a long time. And I'm fascinated to work out how you go from that aesthetic growth thing to now, at still a relatively young age, taking value in different stuff. What have been the practices, the thought patterns, the influences that have got you?
Okay, he's talking about thought patterns. This guy is an NTJ. NTJ.
I'd say one of the main reasons that happened is just my natural disposition of being extremely introverted. So for me, I spent a lot of time by myself. That's my recharge period, yada yada. Like we all know like how like introversion works. Like basically, so for me,
We all know that's TE. So he's saying he's an introvert like every ENTP. It's so funny. My brother, I swear to God, if I call that motherfucker right now, he will say, yeah, bro, I'm introverted. And I'm like, bro, our mother used to put you on a talking band because you couldn't shut the fuck up.
just long periods of time just by myself, just thinking about shit.
Are you an only child?
No, I have 3 brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. Just thinking, just obviously listening to just lots of podcasts, like lots of great thinkers, just borrowing like thought patterns from other people and just building
Patterns, thought patterns. We're just going to nail it for abstract and borrowing it from other people. Let's keep
this
going.
larger like conception like in my head, and
Larger.
then contrasting that with my own insights and things that
Contrasting with my own insights
I've just experienced and
SI experience. Okay, so he's verifying the information. That's TI. TI users will listen to TE, but they will verify it with their internal logical framework and with their SI experiences. Okay, so with that being said, this guy's abstract and SINE. So with that, let's go ahead and knock it down. SINE and abstract. No, that's not pragmatic. Get out of here. And abstract. Okay, we are down to abstract and SINE, so that eliminates ISTJ, ISTP, INTJ, INFJ. That eliminates ESFP, that eliminates ESFJ. We're down to 2 types right now. This guy's either ENTP or ENFP. Okay. But let's go back, because this is a beautiful example of TI, and a very strong TI.
Yeah.
Are you an only child?
No, I have 3 brothers.
Okay.
Yeah. Just thinking, just obviously listening to just lots of podcasts, like lots of great thinkers, just borrowing like thought patterns from other people and just building this larger like conception like in my head, and then
building larger,
contrasting that with my own insights and things that
contrasting that with my own TI.
I've just experienced and
my SI. There we go. And now it's true.
Yeah, just lots of like thinking, because I feel like that's how most things are like typically like resolved. Like there's an idea that I forget, like
just initiated. There's an idea that
there's lots of people that talk about this. I'm sure you've heard people talk about this too. But if you want to, like for example, like you're familiar with like Naval Ravikant, like him talking about like prescriptions, or like if he's spoken to an individual like Kapil Gupta
name dropped.
Been on my show.
Oh, he has? No.
Very long time ago.
Who?
Kapil Gupta.
No way.
Correct.
Has he actually?
Yeah, the no prescriptions guy.
Was it an audio only podcast?
Correct.
Yeah. So I mean, you get that whole idea. Like, it basically, I feel like, so if an individual is like struggling with like any source of like body dysmorphia, image issues, like etc., one line of thought is like, okay, like I have an issue, like I have a problem, I have like anxiety.
One line of thought. Okay, that's one.
Stress. I have all these like things going on. So one school of thought is like, okay, I have issues, right? I need to fix issues, so let me like implement like certain like things and regimes.
Implementing certain things and regimes. That's systematic, ladies and gentlemen.
To like combat these problems.
To combat those problems, that's what systematic people do.
Which is like useful in moderation to a degree, but I feel like for just a really, really deep internal authentic transformation, you can't do that by
deep authentic transformation is abstract.
Following just certain like, oh, let me just write down like in my like gratitude journal like 15 minutes a day, like every single day, like let me just like have this like mantra, like meditation kind of pattern. Maybe that works for some people to some degree, but in a certain kind of way you
see how this guy's debating himself? He's literally debating himself here. Okay, let me roll it back a little bit and watch. He's literally debating himself.
One school of thought is like, okay, I have issues, right? I need to fix issues, so let me like implement like certain like things and regimes to like combat these problems, which is like useful in moderation to a degree, but I feel like for just a really, really deep internal authentic transformation, you can't do that by following just certain like, oh, let me just write down like in my like gratitude journal like 15 minutes a day, like every single day, like let me just like have this like mantra, like meditation kind of pattern. Maybe that works for some people to some degree, but in a certain kind of way there's a type of like insincerity that goes with that, because you become obsessed with doing the surface level generic action to get out of your state of distress, as opposed to just sitting and being in the distress without any agenda and just being there, and in that state just naturally you somehow just wiggle out of it or dissolve or just transcend like the issue per se, or you don't even transcend it, you could just understand it on a deeper level, and it's that deeper understanding that gives like health, I suppose, if that makes any sense.
It does.
Deeper understanding, that's TI.
Well, I think that an interesting question might be, how many of the strategies that you use to deal with the things that you don't like about yourself or about your life are not helping you to deal with them, but are helping you to escape from them?
So I just remember. So I remember.
Okay, he just initiated there.
So when I was like young, when I was like 13, 14-ish, like 12 or whatever, I was like very insecure. I was like skinny, whatever, right? So like I saw like, you know, muscular people that I look up to. I was like, oh, like I want that, right? So then I followed a bunch of people. I gained like a lot of inspiration, and then I did like what I needed to do to like build my physique. And then I think I was around.
That's all. He's all first person. That sounded like it may have been possibly SENI, but it wasn't.
Age of like 18, 19, 20, like sometime around that time. And then I think that's when Jordan Peterson like first started popping off. And I was like listening to a lot of his content, and I was like, whoa, there's something about this like resonates so much. I remember like feeling
on the Jordan Peterson name
just
drop
that I would just like have like certain just interesting ideas or like things going on in my brain, but they couldn't
abstract
like come out just right. And then when I would listen to someone like Jordan Peterson speak, I had a very specific admiration for his ability to so precisely, with perfect congruence of what's happening internally and what he's saying externally, to be at a 1-to-1 ratio with just like music, like orchestral grade precision with like his like delivery, just almost like irregardless of what he was like saying, it's like the structure, not the content of a speech, that I just had like an admiration for, in addition to the things that I obviously said as well. So then that, I feel like, launched my brain into wanting to just like develop in those like general regions, like categories and stuff. So I would just listen to like so many other people, you know, the Sam Harris's, Alan Watts, etc., like all these like different people. So then I remember like reaching a point of like I was like 20, 21-ish, and then I had a
progression,
general feeling of just like the whole body dysmorphia, yada yada, all this like stuff was just like catching up to me, all these like generic whatever, like all these are problems that me and like so many people deal with. And then I went down
that's all SI, man. This guy is not talking about no one else.
The prescription path, right? And the prescription path would have been like I started going into yoga all the time, and then I had this like huge ego complex, like showing up on
and then
time, like doing all like my poses like extremely well, because I'm like, if I'm like doing this right, and then I also like I'll like sit down and like I'll meditate in the morning for like 30 minutes, whatever. I was like so obsessed and excited to do that, because obviously, you know, the thought pattern is doing these things will like alleviate me.
Abstract, you could say any, it doesn't matter. Abstract,
like get me out of like my problems or whatever. So then I feel like it's like a very common thing for like so many people to do, and then they become obsessed with doing that. I became obsessed with doing that, and then I felt like
obsession is a NT thing. Obsession. That's from Linda Barrens.
Burst of dopamine throughout that, right? Because I'm like, oh, checkbox, like yoga session finished, like this thing finished, like this, like food, like eaten, right? And I would just feel like so excited, but it was almost like a short-term just pleasure-seeking fixation on like doing that, and that didn't like really like solve anything.
Underneath, you've still got the existing problem. Okay, so you've got in the first.
You see how the difference between somebody informal versus somebody direct. Boom.
Instance, an issue with body dysmorphia or a dissatisfaction with the way that you look. You fix that by finding people that you like the way that they look and modeling what they do. Then you find people that you admire the way that they think, and you compare the way that you think to the way that they think. You then start to model off of the way that they think. What are the similarities between, or what is it that you were looking for, do you think, in both camps of people? Like, what is it that Ziz and Jordan Peterson have got in common that seduced you?
That's such a great line. What are the things that Ziz and Jordan Peterson have in common? I'd say that it's to me, an attainment of something that I, for whatever reason, deem to be admirable and non-negotiably necessary for me to have. And in Ziz's obvious case, it's, you know, muscles, Jordan Peterson, brain, etc. But so it's just their accomplishment of something. Yeah, and I feel like you could almost tie that into, I don't know if you could tie that into the general concept of like masculinity, but I'd say to me, it's just something that they like achieved that I, for whatever reason, just wanted to have.
Well, it sounds to me like if you want to roll masculinity into this, you're trying from first principles to come up with like, what is a modern Renaissance man? You know, how do we have the body, the brains, the humility, the benevolence, the altruism, the insight, the self-awareness, you know, the power, but not the tyranny, the money, but not the greed. You know, how do we hold all of these things together? One of the challenges that I've been talking about a lot on the show at the moment is finding a firm place for men to stand in the modern world. And this isn't just good for men, right? Because if you have good, benevolent, strong men, They make pretty good partners, usually, on average. Like, they're good for the women as well. And they're good for the community, and they're good for the society, and they're good for the civilization, and the GDP, and the economics, all the rest of the stuff. Given the fact that you have spent
with Chris, I don't know. He's an intj though.
A lot of time chronically online for the last 10 years, what's your conception of male role models at the moment, the challenge of masculinity? Why do you think it is that a lot of young men are feeling lost and requiring more and more of these role models?
I think there's many different like interpretations. Like one school of thought or camp is like, oh, there's
many different interpretations. That's an NE. Okay.
It's been a disruption of the nuclear family unit, and there's like some conspiratorial reasons for that, some non-conspiratorial reasons, because you can go under the hypothesis that to, you know,
hypothesis, that's abstract. That's NT related to hypothesis.
More or less successful upbringing. You want the standard nuclear family unit, mom and dad, and then with that being like fragmented, fractured, then that creates all sorts of problems.
Problems, consequences, that's an E.
If that is the case, then the quote unquote child boy, like in this instance, isn't getting a certain type of, isn't getting like a healthy proper dose of masculine energy, like within like the household, under the assumption that the household is fragmented for whatever reasons, then that need still needs to be satiated, and because it's not being satiated at home due to the easy access of the internet, then that role models will be found online. So like inbuilt in like intrinsic like in like the human condition is like that like need for that like kind of energy, and if it's not being like given at home, it's going to be needs to be supplemented elsewhere, and in this case online. And depending on the maybe maturity level of the individual, or just how the individual is
Good job with your verbal agility.
All right, they, like certain people gravitate towards these types of online figures, other will like rotate in this, not rotate, resonate or connect with other people that they find on the internet.
Resonate or connect, that's FE.
And I think that the reason that people like Z's and like Jordan Peterson and all like that are influential and have like resonance is because they're arguably supplementing that need that a lot of people aren't getting in the stereotypically standard classic home nuclear family-esque kind of way.
Yes, I think yes. I also think that even if you do have a nuclear family, the rules and procedures that the generation before us
that's systematic on Chris
had, if your dad grew up and never had the internet until you were born, how is he going to be able to fold in understanding the way that social media works, understanding the way that online dating works, the crazy changes that we've seen with regards to men's roles, the Me Too movement, all of this stuff? I think that even the best meaning father in the world from the previous generation might struggle to have the language to be able to communicate with a kid that is growing up.
Yeah, no, for sure. Times are changing so fast. Things are changing so quickly that, the previous like rule set or whatever, although it may have like certain fundamental pillars or parameters that'll be universally
parameters, all that's systematic. Okay, let's wrap
for
up.
Any timeline whatsoever. When things change, as they inevitably do, like approaches need to be just like micromanaged and nuancedly like tweaked, and then no one knows like exactly to what degree that needs to be done. Like it's so easy to overshoot or undershoot, and because the rules like haven't been made yet, we're essentially figuring out like on the fly like what's like happening.
Correct.
Figuring out on the fly, that's progression, and he's talking about systems again. Congratulations, this guy's the ENTP. Wonderful. He's very focused for the ENTP. Okay, so let's go back to the chart. The thing here. So what we noticed was that he was TIFE. So go ahead and put him down for there. That would already make him an ENTP. He's also systematic. Obviously, he's talking about fundamentals, principles, all that type of stuff, structures. So that's what we noticed here. But so he is a ENTP. That's pretty bad. So ENTPs are also initiating, so let's go ahead and hit that. They are also informative. We noticed he was informative. Like, bro, he was compared to another direct person right across him. And pragmatic as well. So, okay. That's what ENTPs are. And go to the chart. Just let you guys know. That's what ENTPs are. This was actually a very interesting typing session. But this is Mongolian Mindset, and we're out.